Hi there, welcome to my review for Sicario 2 Soldado, or as it's released in America, Sicario Day of the Soldado. So, Sicario, the first film, was a really fine film. It was a film which had these very interesting moral questions. It was a film which was made with fantastic style by director Denis Villeneuve and cinematographer Roger Deakins, and it was a film that was incredibly dark and gritty and somehow feels very pertinent to the issues of the day. And then this film, Sicario 2, this just doesn't work. This is a complete mess, really. The original Sicario was written by Taylor Sheridan, who has turned out some very fine scripts in recent years. He's one of the greatest scriptwriters in America, I think, at the moment. As well as Sicario, he also wrote Hell or High Water, which was a fantastic film, and he also wrote Wind River, which was pretty good as well. But Sicario 2 is easily his worst work. It's his only significant failure in my eyes. It's a really poor script overall. There's a few reasons why the script is lacking. The first is I just think what it lacks is Taylor Sheridan's usual neo-western edge, where he's able to bring those old stylings of a world without morals and rules to the modern day, but somehow in this film he really misses it, and I think part of that is there's an increased attempt to politicise this film. I think so the original Sicario is kind of leaving things aside. It's kind of just, well, here's the characters and here's the world they're in and here's what they're doing and maybe we should question it. Sicario 2 kind of just lets the characters just say stuff and doesn't really question anything. It's a very blunt film. It's not quite the precise hammer tap. It's like a sledgehammer against a wall. It's just breaking it down without even trying to be subtle about it. It's just a huge fucking wrecking ball. And it just lacks any of the delicate touch that made the original Sicario more than just a super violent drug movie. The fact that Sicario 2 lacks so much is very disappointing. So basically what happens in Sicario 2 is we have Josh Brolin and Benicio del Toro returning from the first film, and they're both kind of okay, they're not fantastic. What this film definitely lacks is Emily Blunt. And what happens is they are just going into Mexico to start a war between the cartels, and they're doing it just kind of cause stuff. And it's a bit of a mess. And there's a whole thing here to do with jihadis going through the illegal immigration system, which feels very tacked on. It doesn't feel natural to the story, nor to real life, really. And there's this whole other point to do with, oh, you know, this is the exception. The US government's gonna not stick to international law, they're gonna be lawless, or how, you know, it's such a unique thing for them, which just seems so silly because the United States breaks international law all the time. There's an added thing here to do with as well. There's a plot point which I really loved at one point, which I couldn't help but laugh at, where one character's like, hey, we gotta stop doing, you know, this stuff because the president's scared he's gonna get impeached for, you know, you killing civilians abroad. And I'm thinking, when was the last time any US president was impeached for killing civilians abroad? Or better question, when was the last time anyone in the media called out for the president to be impeached for killing civilians abroad? That doesn't happen. So it's such a silly political subtext, and I don't usually care for plot holes, nor do I care for these kind of narrative flaws, but I think in the case of this film it's really silly, because the first film was really about trying to unpick the moral questions surrounding its characters, and this film just lets these moral flaws out there, and the characters just say this and there's no question of it, no other character questions it, and that's kind of the crux of the problem here. This is a film which is just so heavily just nihilistic and dark and gritty, and it's like, but where's the point of this? Where are you going? What's the statement? What is the actual factual statement you're trying to present? Because I think the first film to some extent was about, well, we have these terrible cartels and we have to just skirt the law a little to try and combat them, and maybe that's worth it. Whereas this film is just, fuck it, kill civilians, fuck it. And I'm like, where's the point to that? That's just a disappointing narrative side. It doesn't even get into the fact that the whole film is really, really cheesy in the way the first film wasn't. The second half has some twists which are really non-cheesy and then just totally undercuts them with a cheesy way to get out of them. There's so many moments here where I'm just like, that's not, no. Come on, that's just ridiculous. And it's often predictable as well. The other thing is the style really lacks. The first film had this fantastic visual look. In my opinion, it's some of Roger Deakins' best work. It might be his best film. Whereas this film just lacks so much visually without Roger Deakins as cinematographer. There's also the music, which is really good by itself, but it's really overbearing and annoying in how loud it is over so many scenes. There's also just a general lack of control, the framing and the editing both feel off in many moments. It's a film which doesn't have the technical prowess of the first film, and it just feels a lot weaker in its execution. It doesn't seem as strong nor as robust. It feels very much like it's been thrown together, cobbled together on these very loose string of political ideas, barely questioned and then loosely put together in this stylish way that isn't really that effective. I mean, there is some good moments. There's many fantastic moments of silence in this film, particularly after you have like this huge cacophony of gunfire and then it just goes silent, and it's weird and strange, and they're effective. But there's so many subplots here that are cheesy, so many other moments that don't work. It's just overall a pretty mediocre film that doesn't really hold up. It has its moments, but I can't say I think much of Sicario 2 Soldado. I just think it's a bit of a mess and ultimately quite disappointing. So as much as I love the very first Sicario, Sicario 2 is just a bad film. Like, just not very good at all, and that's a real shame because there's a lot of potential here if you're going to do a sequel to a successful film. And it's not like a good sequel wasn't possible, because there's certainly plenty of ways I think that the cartels and the Mexican-US border could serve as an interesting backdrop for future stories, but that's the state of the film as it is, and that's a shame. So that's what I thought of Sicario 2 Soldado, or Sicario Day of the Soldado. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please leave me a comment. If you like this review, please give it a like. If you want to watch more of my reviews, you can subscribe. If you want to read more of my reviews, you can follow me on Letterboxd or on Twitter. Links in the description. Thank you for watching, and Sicario Day of the Soldado, it's a bad film.